It is 6:07 on Mornings on the Mall on WMAL. It is Mornings on the Mall with Brian and Larry. Good morning, Brian.
It is the station, as I like to say. And sometimes I hear you say it as too. This is the station where Washington comes to talk.
Right here. This is where Washington
And it's
itself
amazing. It is what we are known for.
And they do. And apparently more and more Washingtonians are coming here to talk.
That is evident by all of the empirical data.
That is correct. We have plenty to talk about in this hour, mostly about the fiscal cliff. This is the big dominant conversation in the national discourse right now. I thought that we would have moved the ball a little bit down the field.
No, nothing has happened since you left. You left. We were still about to head over the fiscal cliff.
Yeah.
You come back, how 10 days you were gone?
2 weeks.
We're still headed over the fiscal cliff.
Yeah, no move at all. And some people, Brian, are saying that may not be a bad thing, actually.
I wonder what Peter Morici would say.
That's what whenever I see issues come up that have to do with the economy or our fiscal policy, I think, what would Peter Morici have to say?
It's very fortuitous then that he's on the line.
Joining us now, the aforementioned Peter Morici, University of Maryland economist. How are you, Peter?
Well, I was just thinking, what would Peter Morici say also?
Now, that must be very strange for you to do that.
Well, it's sort of an out-of-body experience. I look at a hologram of myself. Any case,
Peter, are we going to fix everything by soaking the rich? Because that's what my president tells me.
No, if you look at how quickly entitlement spending is rising, if we get the deal that he wants, we would probably slice the deficit by about $250 billion.
Wait, a year?
A year.
Or over 10 years?
A year. We would get about $150 billion in new taxes, mostly on the wealthy, and $150 billion in nibbling at the edges of entitlements. And he also wants to spend another $50 billion in stimulus.
Yeah, what is that all about?
Chicago campaign graft. Okay? Basically, he wants to spend money on union projects and for more regulators who are teaching at Harvard. A lot of business schools and graduate schools generally have too many faculty right now, and so this is the way he's going to alleviate that problem. My dean would like me to be more positively oriented towards the Democrats, so he might take me off their hands. In any case, but no, so basically we're talking about $250 net. And I want you to keep this in mind. We're probably going to have entitlement spending over the balance of the decade go up by about another $1.1 trillion per year. There's no reason to believe it will not continue to grow at the pace that it has in the past. And so, that's really a drop in the bucket. And what the Republicans are proposing to do, make the wealthy elderly pay a little bit higher premiums, raise the Medicare retirement age a couple of years to be in line with Social Security, phasing it into 67, and things of that nature. Slow the cost of living increase, which is very tough on retirees in their 80s because their cost of living rises more rapidly than the CPI. It's a very cynical thing to do.
And they're on a fixed income. They have planned the rest of their lives based on this.
Very cynical proposal. When I look at what the Republicans are proposing, I'm saying to myself, gee, nobody in this conversation is really looking at where we're going to be in 6 or 7 years if everybody got their way, which is unlikely. What's more likely is we're going to have a more limited package. But in any case, if everybody got their way, we'd still be in the soup. We'd be in a Greek mess by the end of the decade.
Let's just cut to the chase here. What's going to happen when all is said and done is we're going to kick the can down the road a little.
And kicking the can now, we're getting to the point where it's going to have very negative consequences.
I agree.
Because if we look at what really needs to be done, we're spending 50% more on health care than the Germans, the Dutch, the Japanese. Forget about the British, with their silly system. With health care costs growing at the pace they are, it's going to take a couple of years to have real health care reform, not Obamacare, which basically just subsidizes the existing system. And it's going to take a couple of years to really straighten out the tax code. If we don't do those things, we're going to have a whopping tax increase on the middle class, and America is going to start to look like France, which means Americans will have a much lower standard of living than the French do. You see, France is structured for high taxes. Over there, people get, transportation to work. Here they have to drive, and things of that nature. We would really be looking at a society where we would have a Greek standard of living and Greek-style finances. Not a good thing.
Yeah, it seems to me that if you listen to what the president is saying, that he must have an increase on taxes on the wealthy. And by wealthy, he means anybody making $250,000.
200.
200, yeah. Individuals making 200, couples making $250,000 a year. But if you add up all of the revenue they would be likely to generate from that, it doesn't even come close to the $1.6 trillion they feel like they need to raise.
Raising the rates is $100 billion. That's
nothing.
Yeah, closing a bunch of loopholes is another $50 billion. So it's $150 billion a year. It really doesn't solve the problem.
Well, it says to me that there's more to their plan than they have revealed.
Exactly, and that's a value-added tax. Basically, he wants to talk about tax reform. He says, I want $100 billion now by raising the rates, and then in 6 months I want another $50 billion from tax reform. In quotes, we're going to look at the tax code. But I think then when they sit down with the tax code, he's going to pull out of his pocket really whopping tax increases to solve this problem. See, one of the things to remember, and I think this is really important, if you listen to the governors that are aligned with him, people like the governors of Maryland and California, they really believe that they can have a public benefit structure like the one we have, wholly on the basis of raising taxes. If you look at what Brown did and the fella in Maryland did, that basically, and then what they say and what they do, it seems as though they feel that they can impose taxes at a level that they have in France, in the United States, and have the economy function. And one of the things they don't recognize is France actually has a competent public sector, and it manages healthcare costs much more effectively than we do. If we go to the French system on the tax side, without the caliber of public administration they have in Europe, we're simply not going to get there. It's that simple. The civil service on the continent is just a lot better than here. I mean, it's the old story. Do you really want the country being run by the folks at the post office?
Peter Morici is our guest. He's the economist from University of Maryland. And, Peter, we've only got a little less than a minute here, but I want to know about what the stock market is going to do in this final month with these negotiations and discussions going forward. I don't think anybody from our generation or younger ever thought that we were going to get our full Social Security, so we've been planning on supplementing that with our 401ks, with IRAs. And then when the market takes a dive, that's like an extra tax on us. It's messing up our private benefits.
I think if we're talking about IRAs and KIOs, et cetera, then we should be asking ourselves, if we go down the path the president wants, where will the stock market be 2 years from now, 5 years from now? And the answer is it will remain in the doldrums the way it has for the last 13, 14 years. There's been no growth in the stock market. And so that Americans basically would be, over the last 15 years, they'd have been better off if they had been putting the money in their mattresses.
Yeah, treading water is all they're doing.
So I think, we're going to, whatever gyrations we have because of the panic over the cliff, that will go away. But the bottom line is the economy will continue to grow very slowly. And, the president should be focusing on growth and jobs creation. But instead, he has this obsession with soaking the rich, as if he was going to run for a third term. What I'm expecting him to pull out is a constitutional amendment so that he can run for a third term.
Oh,
almost
jeez.
like
Always the angel of doom.
All right, well, Peter Morici, thank you.